All right, well, today is Thursday, November 10th, and I'm actually leaving the Hyatt in downtown San Antonio because I just attended the San Antonio Auto Show, and now it's time to go home. I'm in a 2017 Volkswagen Golf Sportwagen TSI S manual. Manual. It's a 5-speed, and on the way down here, I achieved 37.2 mpgs. And 37.2 mpgs is quite remarkable for a 1.8 liter gasoline turbocharged engine with a 5-speed manual. So I'm going to do a video on the way home, now leaving the Hyatt, and we're going to see what it's like on the trip from San Antonio to Austin. Let's get started. So, the vehicle has been started, and I'm going to reset the tripodometer. To do that, I'm just going to show you here. Driving data, since refuel, since start. So I'm going to reset that. Okay. 0 travel time, 335 mile range, fuel economy, it's all blanked out. So let's just drive and see what we get. I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's do this. The 1.8 is actually quite a surprise. This is the base model wagon. It's front-wheel drive, but it's so silent in here. And this 5-speed manual is trippy in a way where you just don't expect it to behave this way. It's got a lot of torque. I'm actually using my phone for GPS because navigation is not standard on this, although you can use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I have the cable, but for some reason my phone is just not cooperating right now, which is typical. But with Bluetooth, if you're connected through Bluetooth and playing music, for instance,
in 800 feet, turn left on Wagon Street.
You will get the music through Bluetooth and the overlay of Google Maps.
You are on the fastest route. You should reach your destination by 3:28 p.m. Continue on to McCullough Avenue, then turn right onto Avenue E.
Okay, so there we go. I've got my phone paired through Bluetooth.
Turn right onto Avenue E, then turn right onto 6th Street.
I have no idea where I am. Alright, so I futzed around downtown a little bit. Obviously didn't get the best fuel economy.
I-37 North, US. 281 North, then take exit 142A.
That was 5 minutes of driving, and I averaged 16.7 mpgs. Oh, we want to go this way. This is confusing, man. Here we are, 18.8 mpgs, 5 minutes, leaving
On I-35 North for a half mile.
leaving downtown San Antonio for Austin. And I'm going to
In a quarter mile, merge onto I-35 North.
And I'm going to check in periodically to give you some status updates. Here we go. I-35 North. Great news, I am now averaging 37.2 mpgs, as you can see right there. And out of that, I've driven 23 miles in 24 minutes, and I'm already averaging 37.2 mpgs. That should give you a clue of how easy it is to get up to a pretty good cadence on the highway and achieve some good fuel efficiency without worrying about gasoline engines not keeping up with the same efficiency as a diesel engine. They're relatively neck and neck at this point, and I think that's a good thing. So as time goes by, we will see what happens. 37.4 mpgs. So it's looking good. Let's keep going. good news. I am now near New Braunfels, so it's in between San Marcos and San Antonio. And I'm now at 38.8 mpgs. And I've been trying a little bit harder this time. The thing here is the average so the EPA estimate for highway fuel efficiency on this Jetta Sportwagen S is 35 mpgs on the highway, and I am exceeding that by more than 10%. Now we're actually entering in the fuel efficiency zone of an actual diesel, and 38.9. So I don't know how it's necessarily happening like this, other than I have a 5-speed manual transmission. And I didn't ask VW today when I had the chance. I totally forgot why it's a 5-speed and not a 6-speed, because the theory would be that more gears creates more efficiency, but I'm just not seeing that. So at 38.9, my next challenge would be, can I reach 40 mpgs? And if I can, I'm probably going to have to do it with a little bit of finessing. The speed limit here is 70 miles an hour, and I've been sticking between 65 and 70. My average speed has been 60 miles an hour so far. So we'll see if I can leverage some of the things around here without drafting that truck or that bus. How much this thing can do, really. How well can it do on its own if you just drive it wisely? Let's keep going. All right, I briefly just hit 40 miles per gallon average on this trip. I'm in somewhat of a traffic scenario here, so I am behind a few trucks, and I am staying below the 70 mile an hour speed limit, so I'm not necessarily trying to draft, but at the same time I am just being very smooth with the throttle, and I'm not using anything in the sorts of cruise control. And as you can tell, my distance here is pretty acceptable from the vehicle in front. So right now I'm back down to 39.9, but as you see the undulation here on the highway, it's uphill, it's downhill. Now I'm back at 40. So I've now achieved 40 mpgs in a car rated to get 35 on the highway in a 1.8 liter turbocharged gasoline engine with a 5-speed manual. And I think part of this efficiency is achieved by a lack of a panoramic roof and basically very bone stock in this car. So there's not a lot of weight in here, and I even have cloth seats. So this car is, wow, 40.3. This car is basically at an advantage for people who want to get similar fuel efficiency from what they might be used to, if you know what I'm saying. 40.4, 40.5. So it's really taking advantage of these hills. I don't really know how it's doing it. Maybe it's deactivating some injectors during no load situations. I haven't really looked into it, but at the same time, I've only got this car for a few days because I had it so I could get to the San Antonio Auto Show, and now I get to go to the Los Angeles Auto Show in 2 days. So this car is basically just to get me back and forth through Texas. And, well, I figured I'd take advantage and put this up for you guys, especially those of you who have a TDI and are considering the buyback, especially if you have a wagon. It's very difficult to make that choice because there really isn't much to replace it with. But I think I found a replacement. This thing is only $23,000. This thing is so buttery smooth on the freeway, and it's so quiet. I'd say that there is an advantage to getting a new one over keeping the one you have, regardless of how many miles you have or how many miles you drive. one thing I'd like to say is that I think this car really should come with blind spot monitors. It feels like a Golf, it drives like a Golf, it's just like a Golf. But because it's a wagon and it doesn't feel like a wagon, you're not really cognizant of the fact that it's a very long vehicle for what it is. And I find myself changing lanes, not realizing that this car is bigger than it feels. So having to check my mirrors, there is somewhat of a blind spot actually on the left side. It's a very small blind spot. And if you have your mirrors set up just right and you look over, even in your peripheral vision, that's how long this car is. You're not going to catch everything. And I think a blind spot monitor is going to be really handy to have. And I think you have to go from the S trim to the SE trim, which is a good thing too, because in this one, I don't have heated seats. And that's very rare for a Volkswagen these days, but I would like to have heated seats and blind spot monitoring. That's just someone from my perspective who's a road warrior today. I'd like to have that. Everything else has been great so far. You know, the cloth seats keep it quieter in here. And of course, right now I'm averaging, well, I won't tell you what I'm averaging. I'm going to keep that a bit of a surprise for when I get to the end, because it's fluctuating a little bit and we've reached some of my goals and we'll see if we've exceeded them. How about that? Okay, there you go. I made it from San Antonio to Austin, and I have averaged 44.7 mpgs. Now, I did moderate effort with some hypermiling. I'm not a true hypermiler. I didn't overinflate the tires. I'm leaving the tires at whatever the manufacturer put them at before they delivered this car to my house. And at the same time, I averaged 60 miles per hour. So it didn't drop when I started to go into extreme fuel efficiency mode on the highway. And I went 78 miles. So in theory, if this is a 35 mpg highway rated car, and if I reached 44.7, that's a greater than 20% fuel efficiency on the standard rating. And I think if you drove this car on a road trip the way I just did, you'll still be able to not fall behind with your speed, but get very, very close efficiency to what you would be able to get in the diesel models that no longer exist. So if you are a TDI owner, definitely consider the TSI 1.8 Volkswagen Golf Sportwagen. The only problem I had on this trip has basically been the USB port in this car for some reason isn't charging the phone and isn't connecting to the static display. So I don't know what's going on between the USB. It could be my phone, it could be my two cables, but it's not charging my battery pack either. So I don't know if a fuse is blown, but the USB port wasn't working. That's the only problem I had in this car. It's such a smooth idle too. That's amazing. Thanks for watching.